We are running towards the end of our time, and there's one question I'd like to take just down the front, and I'll probably take one or two more from the floor and then ask for some closing comments.
Hi, Julie Dunn, Griffith University. A couple of things. First of all, I wanted to suggest a suggestion, first of all, that one of the areas that we're going to need most work in is connectivity, and I would kind of want to put out there right now that it would be great if we could develop some models of connectivity that actually work, that we can all live with, and that could be a project, I think, for us to work on first, because unless we get the connectivity right in the primary school especially, then I think we're going to be in trouble further up the track if our time with secondary students is limited. The second thing I want to say is a note of encouragement for those people who feel that teacher education degrees aren't being responsive, is that what's encouraging is that the Queensland College of Teachers are actually pushing universities to include more arts in the courses, and to that end, in the new B.Ed primary at Griffith, we have 2 full arts courses, Arts 1 and Arts 2, and an arts specialisation for our primary teachers. And the great thing about that is it's being driven by Queensland College of Teachers representatives. So I think that's very encouraging, and to have those specialisations available to students means that we will develop some leaders in the future, and I think that's a positive thing for all of us.
Thanks, Julie. Just as the microphone moves back, it is really important, and one of the privileges of my experience working nationally was to realise that there are lots of advocates for the arts who aren't in the arts, and to recognise that there's some substantial and highly effective practice happening, and they're great champions nationally for all of us. So when we're feeling as though we can't imagine it ever changing, it has and it will, and it's a really good idea, I think, to find that practice and share it.
Hi, I'm Madonna Hall from Palm Beach Convent High School. I teach dance and sometimes music there. I guess I'm still a bit confused about the time factor and if there is pressure on us with the time, will that then give principals the chance to say, well, things like school musicals, J-Rock, Brockerstepford drama festivals, all that sort of stuff, that's where the connectivity can come in and get some time in that way, in the extracurricular stuff, without embedding it in the curriculum enough?
I guess the answer is, and I might actually throw to Cindy on this one as the person closest to practising at the moment across the board. The answer is it's always going to be a school, I mean it is currently and has been and will continue to be a school-based decision. And the idea of making some of those really significant events related and informed by the curriculum wouldn't necessarily be a bad thing either. So things that do sit somehow away from the learning part of the arts. I mean, it'd be lovely, as we know, they already are central, but there's some positives, I think, about looking creatively at all of the arts practice that happens in your schools and how that might relate to the curriculum, how the curriculum might relate to that. But I completely understand what you're saying about, oh, well, right, we've got that on, so we don't need it happening over here.
I think it's in part answered in your question. The vast majority of teachers in the arts that create, initiate and inspire the really rich extracurricular activities that schools will often market, that becomes part of their identity in terms of driving the status, the impression of the school or the college. Often extracurricular activities. In this case, we have a statement that's saying this actually is not extracurricular, this is foundational curriculum. And you actually have to come up with a solution within your timetabling that does offer the opportunity for students, all students, to be able to experience the arts up to a certain point. So I think in some ways that may already be answered. But as always, the translation into principals and the timetabling team of deputies and heads of department that have to resolve a very complex and increasingly pressured situations in our schools, I think, requires constant advocacy. And I guess in mentioning the advocacy, I'd really like to encourage people to get involved in your professional associations. Our lives are increasingly complex, busy, and you wonder whether you can fit more in. But the reality is that some of your colleagues have been fitting a lot more in for a very long time, And we always appreciate the extra people involved, the voices, the ears, the eyes, and the inspiration to keep going. And that not just includes, obviously, the secondary associations by art forms, but especially the Primary Arts Network, the chapter that's here in Ipswich that's extremely active and has vast membership, and also the chapters that exist across the state, including the Reach Arts Network and Primary Arts Network associated with that in Far North Queensland. So get involved, and for those people that will be hearing this recording and seeing it via Illuminate through one channel, get involved in your local area, create some networks, and create your own advocacy, your own support, and look to your partners to assist you in this.
Thank you, Cindy. We just have two more minutes, basically, before we reach the end of our time, and I would like to give our panel an opportunity just for a very brief closing remark, and I'd also like to make a couple of closing remarks before we say goodbye to each other today.
I think I probably really said enough, except that just one thing to add that was a question came up last week at another forum. The question of design is going back to the 5 art forms, that in some states design is a separate art form. It isn't in this curriculum. That was, to some extent, that is what we were given. However, we have, within our thinking and within the writing we've done, not only in the core curriculum stuff, but also in the additional material that we have prepared ready for the curriculum writers, we've tried to embed the notion of design thinking very strongly, not just in the visual arts, but also in those other art forms where, like media, in fact, like all the art forms, where the notion of design and design thinking is crucial. So it's there embedded.
Thanks. I think, just extending on what Cindy said, another really important group to motivate in our communities is parents and our students. Because often parents are the best advocates, and if principals have to answer to parents as to why there's less arts education, then they may think twice before doing too many strange things with timetables.
I'm encouraged by the positive way in which people have responded today. I think it's been fantastic, and we only really read about the negatives in the media, and I think it's been a wonderful lesson to me, especially to hear the positive feedback. And I'd just encourage you, when giving feedback to ACARA through those questions, to maintain a positive tone about it. Even if you've got serious concerns about the shape paper, it's very important as an advocate that we maintain some positive approaches to what's happening. Thank you.
Thank you. Just a reminder, this is a signal moment in Australia's curriculum history, and it is a time at which we can really shape the direction for the arts in Australia. Building on everybody's comments, yes, do the feedback into ACARA, and positive, give us the criticisms so that we can make the best possible curriculum from this. Also, talk around your colleague teachers, into your subject associations, into your communities, with your principals, because advocacy is a responsibility of every single one of us.
Thank you. And I guess I'm always the last comment, but I'd like to encourage people to use this opportunity, as Margaret said, as a very significant one, that having a national arts curriculum, embrace it as a reward for the courage that we have taken for so long to have the arts regarded as a really rich, highly valuable and integrous part of Australian national identity, embracing all of our multicultural and Australian Indigenous cultural practices and knowledges. And for primary arts teachers, the responses that I'm getting in communication is, finally, we've actually got some power to go and have this conversation in an equitable level with our integrated and connected whole schools planning, and to see the arts visible from primary right through to the senior studies.
Radio National's Artworks is going to be interviewing Derek in the next little while, so along with a couple of other advocates. But where are you, Derek? There he is. 10:15 on Sunday mornings. I'm hoping it's next Sunday, but it might be the one after. Keep listening.
What I love about working in arts education, arts curriculum, is that you can be at a feedback session and it becomes an advocacy session, and the two things just sort of work hand in hand. We can give each other very robust things to think about, but at the same time going, yeah, but we're pretty good as well, and we're very important. And I think that the nature of today was about robust feedback, and thank you for that. It's also been the nature of today to reflect on where we are now and the opportunities that the future holds. Please don't forget, as individuals, you can bring this to fruition.